learn about how they do their export business because these countries are actually the top exporters in the world. So we basically went to learn the do's and don'ts. How are they doing this export thing such that they bring in money for the economy, their businesses, companies are able to sell to a wider audience across the world. And we took some notes and we shared those notes with you last week. Just in case you missed that episode, not to worry. I'll share with you how you can catch up with it during the show. So, what do we have for you today? Well, today we're coming back home and we're bringing the conversation close home. All right. And today we're talking about some of the pitfalls to avoid in the export business. We're big on this export matter because we know that if your business, if your product, your service, your goods, if they're able to cross the border and, of course, be available to people outside the country, that means that your market is 2x, 3x. I mean, times two, times three, times four. And that means more profit to you. You're able to make more money as a business. You're able to employ more people. You're able to grow and basically grow Nigeria's economy. So that's why we're staying with this export bit for a while. And if you want to be a part of the show, you can also call in, right? If you're listening from anywhere in the country or the world, you can always call or WhatsApp us on the show this evening, and I'll be sharing those numbers with you. But let's get right into it. If you're an exporter, or you're an intended exporter, or you know someone who is exporting or plans to export, call them up right now and tell them to tune in to Radio Nigeria wherever they are. Tell them that there's a very important program going on right now and they do not want to miss out on it. So tell them, tune in to Radio Nigeria where you're at. But if you don't have access to radio, if they don't have access to radio, tell them to go online at smegrowth.ng. That's SMEGROWTH.ng. And they can get to listen to us on YouTube and online live. And you can get to ask questions as well. So let's do that right away for the good of your business and the nation's economy. Today, we're talking export yet again, but we want to walk you through some things to avoid while going about this export business so you can be successful. If you're ready, I'm ready. Let's get right into it. As always, we have some fantastic panelists who have been doing a your man and a your woman's job over the past few weeks. So I'm going to be introducing our panelists yet again today. They have decades of experience put together in the financial services sector, and they are here with the right information, with the right experience to guide you through. As I said earlier on, you can call us on the show. So this is the number to call or WhatsApp on: 0916 257 1214. That's 0916 257 1214. That's for a call or WhatsApp. So that means you can just go on WhatsApp and type a message to us. And I promise you, I'm going to try as much as possible to take your messages. But if you just want to call us alone, you can also use this number: 0700 7000 977. That's 070 0700 0977. But if you want to do old school text, that's SMS, just do 0901 133 9791. That's 0901 133 9791. The calls are coming in already, but wait a minute. Let's talk about the matter first of all, and then we can take your calls. I'm going to be introducing our panelists this evening. We have joining us yet again for the third week running. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a cool welcome, because it's hot these days, to the head of Exports Office Trade and Exchange at the Central Bank of Nigeria, Salamatu Abubakar Ahmed. It's good to have you on the show, Madam Ahmed. We also have Dr. Anthony Anichebe, who's a sector lead, agri and non-oil export at Polaris Bank. Also, Dr. Anichebe also joins us for the third week running. And on the program this evening as well is Oladipo Olariwaju, Departmental Head Trade Finance at Keystone Bank, and of course, the team lead Export and Agri Fidelity Bank, Emmanuel Wallo. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the Financial Literacy and Public Enlightenment Radio Show yet again. Well, without taking much of your time, I think it's important to get right to the conversation, but I want us to do some sort of opening, ladies and gentlemen, because we take it for granted that people may know all of the opportunities that abound in Nigeria's export market, but not everybody knows. And that's what this show is about, to open the eyes of people to these opportunities that abound. So I'm going to start yet again with Madam Ahmed from the Central Bank of Nigeria, just as an introductory, statement. What are the opportunities that abound in Nigeria's export market, Madam Ahmed?
Good evening, Kayode. Good evening, fellow panelists. Thank you, Kayode. So, I'm having a bit of a challenge with my network. I don't know if you can hear me.
Thankfully, we can hear you. So,
can you hear?
absolutely.
Oh, okay, fine.
Please go ahead.
Yes, yes. So, wow, the opportunities for export in Nigeria are enormous. Enormous because we have quite a number of exportable that we can export out there and earn receivables in foreign currency. And the fact that we're also strategically located, it's an advantage. And the fact that we have a large population, so labor is in abundant supply. So there's quite an opportunity for anyone wishing to go into export, and I would encourage it.
And reminder that we need. This is an all-important conversation because the opportunities abound. So, having heard that, let's just dive right into it. So, in spite of these opportunities, people find it difficult to navigate their way through the export market here in Nigeria, and there are lots of hurdles for them. And for that reason, a lot of people just say, you know what, let me just maintain local market, let me remain a local champion. But no, you can do much more. So let's begin by the big question. So I have a product, right? But how do I find buyers? How do I get access to market outside of a country? To ordinarily get access to market here, I know what I did as a business person. So how easy or how hard is it to find buyers and market access outside the country? And this is essentially to help people understand international market needs, how to, understand what exactly is available out there in terms of market and how I can meet that. So, Madam Ahmed, let me start with you yet again, and I'll do a round robin around. How do I find a buyer market? How do I even know where to go to begin with? Anichebe, same question to you, Dr. Anichebe. Finding
Yes.
buyers and market.
Yes,
That's
thank
challenge
you,
for a lot.
Kayode.
So how do you cross that hurdle, Dr. Anichebe, in the simplest form?
Well, thank you, Kayode. I mean, finding buyers for this, you can leverage on online platforms, to be able to find available buyers for the product. You can also go to the Chamber of Commerce. Nigeria Export Promotion Council is one, then the vanguard of export program in Nigeria. So you can find available buyers through them. You can also go online. You can go to Chamber of Commerce. There are also some international chambers like British Chamber of Commerce. You have American Chamber of Commerce. You have various Nigerian cross-border Chamber of Commerce. So you can also find available, buyers from there. You can also use our embassies, Embassy of Nigeria in India. Nigerian Embassy in India. You also look at US embassies and UK embassies. So you can find various buyers through these medium.
I'm glad that this is accessible. Some of the points you've raised were probably explored, but by way of opening comment, let me bring in Oladipo Olarewaju as well, Department Head Trade Finance at Keystone Bank. This is a big question about finding buyers and market access. And Dr. Anichebe has said, well, you can start online, right? It's really as easy as that, but is it really that easy? If it's easy, why aren't people going about it as easy as it is? Olarewaju, your opening comment on this, finding buyers and market access.
Yeah, thank you, Kayode, and I welcome my fellow panelists as well. Rightly, like Dr. Anichebe said, going online is one of the ways that exporters can, typically begin to find markets. Also, as an addition, such opportunities like trade fair or exhibitions are equally one of the other platforms that people can use in order to at least sample what the market is like in terms of buyers. We have trade fairs that occur everywhere. We have trade exhibitions equally. I've seen exhibitions where, foreigners are always coming. And if it's a trade exhibition, it's either to buy or to sell, or both ways in some cases. So one can begin from there, exchange contacts. Even from there, you can begin your sales pitch. Oh, this is what we can supply. I can supply this in a period of this. And gradually, you begin to form what will be the beginning of a contract, a sales contract. So conversations can go on after, both parties have exchanged contacts and they are back in their respective locations, and then they can continue from there. Equally, like Dr. Anichebe also said, part of the reasons why we have bilateral relationships across countries is because of things like this for trade and investment information. So people can go to the various embassies of other countries, even in Nigeria here, ask questions. What are the commodities that I can supply to this country, and can you give me a contact of veritable buyers? Because at the same time, you want to be careful of who you are dealing with. You don't just want to make a cold call on people or on companies that you are not familiar with or you don't have a referral to. So generally, those are some other aspects, some other avenues where businesses can begin to generate leads for sales and marketing.
Thank you very much. A very interesting point there. And I like the fact that you mentioned that people have to be outgoing. If you want to sell your market, you need to look for opportunities where you can attend some of these trade fairs. But I wanted you to speak to something, and I'll come to Madam Salamatu Ahmed quickly on this one. So I have a product, for example, I sell, let me see, I sell shoes, a certain kind of shoes, right? But how do I know which market my shoes was selling very well? Because you take it for granted that people wear shoes, right? People love shoes, but markets are different. Some people prefer leather shoes. Some just want rubber shoes. Some say, you know what, we don't even wear shoes. We just want to wear slippers. So in terms of market survey, how is it possible to do market survey from here in Nigeria? And that's still speaking to access to market. And that's for you, Madam Salamatu Ahmed. How can you do market survey from where you're at here in Nigeria, just to buttress the point made? Don't worry, we'll get her back. We'll get her back. But Dr. Anichebe, let me come to you on this one. I wanted to speak to specifics because for some people, it might still seem a bit vague. So in terms of market survey from here in Nigeria, how can you go about that quickly?
Well, the point is, first of all, you have to research and identify potential markets. You understand? For example, through the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, you will have what is called export bets. If you are exporting hides and skins, they could guide you to say, okay, fine, this is somewhere in Europe, or this is a market in Italy that finds outlet for this. So they will guide you and create, maybe give you an ecosystem that is available. But you now have to rely on them and some other assessment mechanisms to now know, okay, fine, what kind of heights and skins are required. Is it thick skin, light skins, and what is the specification? So again, you now need to look at, also going to the internet to be able to say, okay, fine, these are the available things. But if you now go to the Italian, the embassy of Italy, it can now shows you, okay, fine, the trade aspect of that embassy will now show you to say, okay, fine, look at the specifics, look at the major dealers, look at the contact addresses. They will be able to give you specifics. So you can now, that becomes basis for exchange. You understand? To so okay, fine, you're from Nigeria and look at what you have. Of course, you have the reference of the Chamber of Commerce for that country that will support as a reference point, that will validate your presence and their participation as an exporter. Of course, you have to have the registration of the Nigerian Export Promotion Council to show that you are a certified exporter in Nigeria and that you are not just flying in the winds. You understand? They fly in the wind exporter. So those are the kind of things to be able to navigate. Even if it's Nigerian embassy, for example, they will be able to shape you. Then the Chamber of Commerce will give you the products, who has exported. These are their profiles, for you to now get into specifics and get their recommendations, you understand, to be able to enter the market. Thank you.
Right now, you can be a part of it. You can share your experience, by the way, if you've had challenges trying to export or going about this export business. You can call or WhatsApp us on 0916-257-1214. Again, 0916-257-1214 or 0700 7000 977. One more time, 0700 700 097. List as well, they are here for you. Now, another issue that potential exporters or exporters face, ladies and gentlemen, is the issue of quality in terms of standards as well. So you understand that different cultures or countries, as the case may be, have different standards. So for this, they might say, this is what we want. Another says, this is what we want. So you realize that sometimes businesses produce these goods and these products, and it's time to export, and they tell them, well, it's not the quality or the standard that we require in our own country. It's good for your own country, but not for us. So how do they avoid, or do we avoid this sort of, well, I call it a heartbreak, because after you've spent a lot of money, time, resources, you then hear it's not the right standard. It is really heartbreaking. So let me start with you. Okay, I see Mr. Emmanuel Waller has joined us now. So Mr. Emmanuel Waller, good to have you on. We're just talking about the standards and requirements as well. So you might want to chime in on that one. How do we avoid that kind of heartbreak in the export business?
Yeah, thank you, Kyle. Thank you. And this is very critical. And I must confess that a lot of people have made these mistakes in the past. They've lost money as a result. So this is where capacity building is important. This is where export education is very, very relevant. So there is need for, so like I keep saying it, practically everyone that has a device can do import business, but exports cannot be done that way, because in the business of import, you are the one that is paying, so it doesn't really matter. So long as you pay, no problem. But in the case of export, you're going to be the one receiving payment. So you have to be, you have to be careful around the quality of the goods you export and all of that, because if you ship the wrong quality, you don't get paid. By then you're already out of pocket. So it is important that every exporter understands destination markets. Markets are different. If you're exporting to the US, it's different from when you're exporting to the EU. It's different from when you're exporting intra-Africa. It's different from when you're exporting to Asia. So some of the things that a Chinese would take from you, an American company will not take it from you. So there's need for that education. There is need for you to understand. That is why people always say that understand their market. To be able to be successful in the export business, you must understand their product. Secondly, you must understand the market. These two criteria, very, very important. So you need to understand it. And again, I'll make sure that you take your time to look at the contract, because at the end of the day, all of these are embodied in that contract, right? There is always that specification around what you can ship and in which shape and form and all of that. So there is need to carefully look at. So before you sign that contract, ask for a draft. So when you see the draft, you'll be able to look at it and be sure that it is something that you can deliver. If it's not something you cannot deliver, if it's something you cannot deliver, then you need to opt out at that point. Which also brings another segment to. For an exporter, you must have a very good relationship with your bank. So when you request request for this draft and run it by the experts. Take it to your bankers to also help you review and also advise before you commence. I think it's very, very important.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel Waller. Very important point he made there. Understand your destination market. The same way you seek to understand your market here in Nigeria is the same way you must understand your market out there. And that takes a lot of research. It takes a lot of time asking questions upon questions. It's always said that the man or woman who asks questions hardly loses or misses their way, right? So it's important to ask these questions. And we'll get to the bank bit a little bit later on because it's a very important aspect of it when it comes to financing and all of that. So never mind, we'll get to that one. But if you're just joining us, this is the Financial Literacy and Public Enlightenment radio show brought to you by the Bankers Committee. And today we're talking about the pitfalls to avoid while navigating the export market, really, while trying to export your products, your goods outside of the country. And we've talked about how to find a market, how to ensure that you know what market wants your goods. We've talked about ensuring the right quality and standards. But let's quickly take this call. We have a caller. Good evening. Welcome to the show. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Good evening.
My name is Adam West. I'm calling from Suleja.
Good evening, Mr. Adam West. It's good to hear from you again.
Thank you. For instance, I just want to make a query. The local items I want to export, how do I go about it? Like from kernel seed.
Right. That's a good question. Palm kernel.
Doesn't mean they have excuse me. Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes. Doesn't mean they have a special quality they want in the US or EU. In the European Union, yes, and Asian countries. Our own type of kernel. That's what I'm trying to explain. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adam West from Suleja. And I think that's a vital question. I imagine a lot of people are queued up behind you on that question. So do we have any takers? Anybody wants to take it? From Madam Ahmed, Dr. Anichebe to Oladipo Lariwajo Emmanuel. Anybody could take that question.
Yeah, sure. I'll take that.
Seeds that he wants to export. Does it mean that he probably needs to find another one? How can he know, basically?
Okay, I think so. For the caller, the most important thing at this point is to look at the destination market for that product. So when I mean by destination market, you need to make your own independent research, to look at for where these products can be, where you have an off-taker for it. So which of these destinations, which country, which continent, if it's America, EU, China, wherever, you need to have a conversation. So this is like you looking for a market for your products. So you need to engage that conversation. And of course, there are platforms through which you can do that. So beyond physical, communications, there are also platforms, online platforms where you can also look out, for potential buyers of your products, right? So you need to put that information around that product so that, that conversation can begin. But more importantly, everything revolves around establishing a communication around potential buyers. And of course, you show them your product. They will need to look at, the quality of that product. They need to look at every other thing that they seek for in a product. And if they are convinced, then of course, you guys will have to, go around, coming up with an export contract that will now define the rules and obligation, of the parties involved, in which case you and the potential buyer. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. We're due for a break in just a few minutes. But Dr. Anichebe, I want to circle back on that same question and just ask specifically, does it mean, or on the face value, can our caller, Mr. Adam West, export the palm kernel seeds that he has gotten from here in Nigeria? On the face value, can he export it to either the EU or China, just as it is right now? I mean, will they say, no, this is palm kernel from Nigeria, so we don't want it?
Well, the point is that he mentioned that he wanted to export pancake cake, which is a very much item for export from Nigeria. In terms of this, the quality considerations is what guides the process. Because I mean, you find out that for that item, there are a lot of export coming from countries as Netherlands. So to export successfully, your own quality has to be top. For example, you look at what's the moisture content, what's the fiber content, what's the oil content in all of these things. So it has to compete. So you have to subject the product to sample analysis to make sure that the buyer specifications is clear. Then for Nigeria, for example, most of our palm kernel finds way to Turkey. Yes, and Turkey is a very major market for Nigerian palm kernel cake. So what you need to do is first of all, and again, we don't know the beauty of what you have, but Export Promotion Council can give you the kind of people that you have. You have also Nigeria Association in Turkey. You understand that is also very vibrant. They can also make available some of the lead importers. But the thing to worry about is to worry about the quality. Your quality must be top notch. In terms of how subject to quality analysis, there are a lot of international outfits here that are in Nigeria that can help you do your sample analysis to make sure that it's in sync with the required specification. Once it's okay, then you can be able to export it. Turkey is not far from Nigeria, whether you're moving from freight and other things. But there are a lot of support mechanisms between Nigerians to Turkish trade to support that process. So it's easy, and a whole number of people are doing that. You may gladden you to note that about 18 million kg were spotted last year. They stand for value of about $10 million. So it's important to know that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Anichebe. So, Mr. Adam West from Suleja, I bet we've done a good job to answering that question, and we hope that you are encouraged to go ahead, because obviously, as Dr. Anichebe said, there's good money in that one. But we're due for a break now, and when we return, two very important pitfalls will be up next. First, the finance bit, the forex issues. For some people, it's been fluctuating. What is the latest update in that area? How is government ensuring some sort of stability? Well, we have the CBN right here on the show, plus the whole ports, customs, and all of that. Oh, yes, I know. So stay with us right here. We'll be right back on the program.
It makes sense.
I come here, please. Sorry.
Calm down. I go pay.
Please, I no fit pay.
Chai.
Wetin that?
Why everything just cost like this?
Na dollar o.
Dollar. How?
Baba, na true now. See your shoe, made in Italy. Your shirt made in Turkey. Even car where you carry come, made in Japan.
How all this one take affect dollar?
You know, say for the price of dollar to come down, get wetin we suppose dey do. We suppose they export pass wetin we dey import. We suppose they buy more made in Nigerian products. Make we dey support local businesses. And if we go carry dollar enter Nigeria or any other foreign currency, make we dey use international money transfer agents.
This is my friend, it too get sense. You know what will happen? Give am the day, make it pay. Country people, make we join hand, reduce the pressure on top our naira. This message now from Bankers Committee.
As part of its Financial Literacy and Public Enlightenment Monday, the Bankers Committee has come up with the 2025 MSME Radio Show. The objectives is to deepen MSME understanding of the evolving changes in the subsector, business strategies for growth, and various national and international policy. Financial experts from deposit money banks, development partners, regulatory institutions, and successful entrepreneurs would arm listeners with premium financial knowledge. Tune in to the network service of Radio Nigeria between 5 to 6 p.m. every Monday. Topics to be covered are cashless policy and alternative payment channels, contactless payment options, sourcing FX, agency banking, raising capital, and cross-border trade. To find out more or register, visit www.smegrowth.ng on Facebook and Instagram at Bankers Committee, FLPE.
You're welcome back to the Financial Literacy and Public Enlightenment Radio Show, brought to you by the Bankers Committee. And it's been a very profitable conversation so far today, talking about the pitfalls to avoid in the export market, the export business. And I still have my panelists with me, Salamatu Ahmed, Head of Exports Office, Trade and Exchange, CBN, Dr. Anthony Anichebe, Sector Lead, Agric and Non-Oil Export, Polaris Bank, Oladipo Olarawaju's Department Head, Trade Finance, Keystone Bank, and Emmanuel Wallo, Team Lead, Export and Agric, Fidelity Bank. Ladies and gentlemen, well, thank you for hanging on and for those very insightful contributions. So we want to get to the very funny matter of money now, or the financial bit of it. So I have my, I have the idea, I have the drive, I have the information partly as well, listening to this program, right? But I need money. But just before we get into that, you can be a part of the show this evening, and you can call us on 0700 7000 977, 0700 700 0977. If you had experiences or you haven't experienced that you need help with, or you just want to ask questions, go ahead, give us a call right now. And as you can see, our panelists are here to help you out. You can also use this number 0916 257 1214. Again, 0916 257 1214. So let's get back into it and talk about the financial bit. And how comes you, Madam Salamatu Ahmed? Because navigating the financial pitfalls can be very tricky for Nigerian exporters. So let's begin with the bigger picture, which is the currency aspect. Because for you to export, there's a forex angle, and we understand that the CBN plays a big role in this one as well. So what protections are there for exporters in terms of forex? For some, it had been fluctuating, but how is it now, and how should exporters approach this market?
Thank you, Karen. Sorry, apologies. My network has been on and off this evening.
That's okay.
Yes.
Please go ahead.
Okay. Yes. Well, I'm sure most of us would attest to the fact that there has been relative stability in the FX market in recent times. The liberalization of the exchange rate has led to a convergence or a unification of the rate. So we're seeing that the gap between the official and the BDC segment has narrowed, which is a good thing. The bank has cleared FX backlogs, and that has played a significant role in restoring confidence in our Nigerian FX market, which in itself is something that the bank needs to be commended for. The bank has strengthened other supply channels, remittances, exports, and the likes. So we're seeing improved liquidity in the market, and that is set to improve as we progress. It will get better, I believe, as soon as, as we progress, yes. So the FX issue is not so much a challenge now, more so, but I know you need exports, FX to export, but for exporters too, it is expected that your receivables from export, you are aware that you can use it for trade eligible transactions, business related eligible transactions. So you have access to your FX proceeds, and it's something you can also use when you need to finance your export activities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. But how do we then balance this issue now? Because exporters will be praying for dollar to keep going high and high so that they can make more money from exports, while others are saying it should come down. So whose prayer should we pray that will be answered now, Madam Salamatu Ahmed? And how does that impact on ultimately what they earn in that sense?
That's an interesting one. So ultimately, what matters is an exchange rate that is conducive for economic growth. It doesn't make any sense if, as an exporter, for instance, the naira depreciates, so you get more naira for your dollar. But then remember also some of those commodities or items that you're going to export, if they are finished goods, you need to import raw materials, plant machinery, and what have you. If they're agricultural commodities, still they are priced in foreign currency, for instance, and then converted to naira. So you find even in the village now or rural areas, people are saying that the price of onion has gone up because dollar has gone up. So I think if we're to balance it, we should not put ourselves first. We should put public interest first, and I think that will be about having a stable exchange rate that is conducive to growth. Thank you.
So that's an easy way around that prayer. Just think about the public good, because once it's good for the public, naturally, it'll be good for the private and businesses as well. Let me come to Olariwaju Oladipo next now. And from the FX, let's talk about accessing finance and funding as well, because you need money for these things, right? So I want you to speak to two things. What funding options are available to exporters, loans, grants, and the rest? And after that, we can then speak to how to even get payment as well. Because for some people, they don't know, is my normal savings account, is it enough to get payment for these goods? But let's speak to access to finance first, and you can take the other question round. Olariwaju.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kayode. Typically, most banks offer financing for export. However, it's very, very important to be strategic about it. Typically, any bank might not want to offer or want to oblige a credit facility for a startup, and that would be based on a number of things. The industry experience is also very, very important. So the typical advice I would give to anybody is to start small. Starting small might make it a little bit easier to access funding or financing with a combination of own funds or funds that you have been able to secure from other informal channels, maybe funds from friends, from family. And then if you have this, you can start small. Starting small and building a level of track record and experience is very, very, very important. And then equally, the business partners, the mode of payments are also very important. We have seen situations where even small and medium scale exporters who have a level of expertise and experience might still find it challenging if the chosen mode of payment is not very, the bank is not very comfortable with it. It has to be a mode of payment that the bank is absolutely sure is coming back in the form of the export proceeds. So that's another aspect of it. So, for instance, if you have a confirmed letter of credit from your buyer offshore, who has issued you a letter of credit, issued by a bank that has added its confirmation, and it said, look, whatever comes, you just deliver this product and we'll pay. It is something that is very, very convenient for banks to finance. It's just a matter of time, see through the delivery, and then payment will come. So accessing finance is,
Before you go on, to the some of us that don't speak English that well, what is letter of credit?
Apologies for that.
In the simplest form.
Okay. A letter of credit is a document that is issued in the form of a writing that is a commitment from a bank in the buyer's country to make payments once the seller has fulfilled all the terms. And majorly the terms are just to ship goods to the buyer. So once goods are shipped to the buyer, and evidence of this shipping can be provided in the form of the bill of lading, bearing the name or the title of the buyer, then the bank is going to oblige payment. They are bound by the instrument that they have issued to make that payment. So that is what a letter of credit is. It's just like a guarantee, an assurance from a bank that payments will be made once the exporter provides evidence that goods have been shipped.
Learn things, you broaden your perspective, and ultimately You do well for your personal finance and your business. I thank Mr. Larrawadi for that. So I've put that down in my, list of terms so I can use it when the time comes. So let's talk about how to process payment as well. We can also explore the, financing bit. And just when we wind down on this conversation, we'll provide, channels through which people out there can reach us if they're looking forward to, furthering their export, business or potentials. But let me come to Mr. Nwalo on this one. Now, in terms of receiving payment, now, what do you need to receive payment? Is my humble savings account enough, or do I need to do more? How exactly do I go about it? Because at this point, I'm going to be receiving, forex in that sense. And how will the money come in? Would I get it in naira or dollars, Mr. Nwalo?
Okay, so basically, to receive payments, an exporter requires to open an export proceed account, we can also call it export domiciliary account. But it's important to note that it's different from the regular domiciliary account. So the regular domiciliary account, I can pay money into it and I can withdraw, right? But for export proceed account, it is you can't write a check against it. You can't withdraw across the counter. So this account is regulated by the Central Bank of Nigeria, right? And then at the point of opening your NSP, which is very important, Nigerian Export Proceed Forms, and when you're at the point of opening the NSP, you are expected to impute that Export Proceed account as well as your current account, okay? And then, of course, in your invoices, to the buyer, you need to include all of that information. So usually when the transaction is fully consummated and payment is made, it is automatically routed through that export proceed account number that has been advised at the point of opening the NSP. And then, of course, when the money comes in, it will be treated as an export proceed, and then it will be dealt with in line with our regulatory requirements.
There you have it. So you have to open rather a special account for that, different from your domiciliary account, of course, different from your savings or current account. And the good thing is, these things are possible. These things can be easy. Just approach your bank, go ahead and get it done so you can get the much needed money from your exports. Now, I sort of saved this bit of the conversation for the last because it's usually one of the hurdles, one of the challenges people face in this whole process. And that is the logistics part. So you've gone through all of the hard work of producing, you've gotten the letter of credit, right? I just had to use that. But you've gone through the whole process, right? Maybe not gotten the letter of credit just yet, but you've gone through the whole process. But then you're confronted by customs, the ports system, and all of that. And it's at that point that some people just give up and say, I'm not doing it again, because the stress is a lot. So, Dr. Anichebe, this hurdle of logistics, we understand the other bits of logistics, but I want us to talk about, the ports, customs bit. How do exporters navigate this phase of the exporting market?
Well, like you have mentioned, clearly, major exports are done through the seaports. You understand, Apapa, Tinkan, Unem, some export dedicated ports. So you find out that in Nigeria, you need to contend with customs. You have to look at, for example, if you are exporting, you need to pay, there are some documentations that you need to present. Then you need to also pay the necessary bills, custom charges for exports, then pay the shipping line companies, then make sure you work with shipping lines that are effective. Some of the frustrations the exporters have incurred is that if you are using a shipping line that is not responsive, they can delay, they can give you a date for the goods to be exported, shipped, but find out that there are some delays, so it depends on the item you are dealing. Some of these goods also have shelf life, so you need to make sure you work with a responsive shipping line. Depending on the country, destination of export, you find out the functional shipping line to go to those countries. So you work with them, make sure things as this thing. Some of these shipping lines also have some facilities to support your exports. So you work with the ones that are very well established. Some of them could occasionally be what you don't expect. So you make sure you work with shipping lines, select shipping lines that are very established, that able to take you serious, that also, when you want to export, they can meet the available quota for export easily. You understand? Instead of being long on the process and goods also suffering some delays. But the good thing, like I've mentioned, is some of the shipping lines have some infrastructural support for your exports, so that the issue of deterioration in product quality does not happen. And some of these are also offering some good competitive charges. We have seen a number of increased presence of shipping lines in the country, and that is what liberalization has also brought in, a number of additional lines, shipping lines getting established in the country. So Nigeria is a popular route. So competition has also been able to bring down the costs for all of those things, But the major thing is that they provide the infrastructure supports for your produce, so that you don't suffer deterioration. So those are the things. So you must look out for, not at the point you have goods at the seaport. You must look out for the shipping line that you want to use. You want to use agency, you need to determine all those things, have a prior arrangement, and make sure all of those things, your goods are also certified, pay customs, and make sure everything is compliant, and make sure the adequate papers are there for exports. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Dr. Anichebe. So there you have it. But some people say, do I do it myself? Or do I use, an agent, someone who is a forwarder, all these terms, logistics provider, and this is usually a tricky one. So, Mr. Imwalo, this is a challenge for some people. Is this something I should do myself? Do I get an agent? What is the best route?
Okay, I mean, is especially for new exporters, even if you're an existing exporter, it's always good because there's what you call specialization of people are specialized in different things, right? So you have the freight forwarders whose primary job is to assist, with things around documentations, having to deal with. These are licensed agents, licensed customs agents who have an understanding of all of these requirements. So it's always good that every exporter engages one, right? So because you do your own part of the job, and then you leave professionals to do their own bit as well, and it doesn't cost that much. So I always recommend that exporters should engage their freight forwarders who will assist them with every other thing that requires engagement with customs, documentations here and there, procuring their bill of lading, and all these other documentations that are required. So yeah, that is the best way to go. At source, that which you are not, which you have not been trained for. Let me use that word. So I think that's just the way to go about it successfully.
There you have it. Don't just try to do everything yourself, okay? That's why we have, specialties. And I'm glad we talked about this because it sort of takes away all of that stress, the headache. You have people who do this. So that's one pitfall to avoid, trying to do it yourself. I mean, they say if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, you go together, and you have all of these different agencies, individuals and experts who are going to help you through that process. And it feels good, rather, I think, to know that you're not in this alone. But I want us to, as we wind down, quickly speak to risks, because whether you like it or not, there are risks attached to anything in life. Some low risk, some medium, some very high risk. So by way of winding down, it's not something we talk about as much, but sometimes you have cargo loss. There's, for example, changes in market demand that just messes the whole your planning up. How can exporters avoid that pitfall, or at least mitigate these risks? What strategies have been proven to ensure that at least you don't have headache or high blood pressure just because your goods are on the high sea. And I'll go to Madam Salamatu Ahmed, and everybody can just have their final thoughts as we wind down.
Thank you, Kayode.
See,
So,
Dr. Anichebe, anybody
thank you.
who
Can
wants to
you hear
take
me?
it, let's talk
Hello?
around mitigating risk.
Hello?
How do you
Hello?
mitigate?
Network has gone off again. Hello?
Yes, please go ahead, madam. We can hear you.
Yes. So, on the issue of mitigating risk, I would like to look at the side of a transaction that has to do with payment defaults. Personally, I've seen a few transactions that have gone the other way simply because the exporter did not do due diligence on his buyer. So I think as one of the mitigants I would suggest is for exporters to conduct due diligence on their buyers. Sometimes, like I want to give an example of an instance. A middleman connected an exporter to an overseas buyer. The middleman is a local business, yet the exporter did not even go to check to confirm that middleman's office premise existed. Now he exported to the overseas buyer and there was a default in payment. After the buyer had defaulted, he went back to the middleman, and then that was the first time he was visiting the office and now realized that the middleman, the office, the presence was not there. There was no physical presence where he claimed his office was. So, this could have easily been avoided. So some of those risks can be mitigated if we conduct due diligence, if we do the right thing, maybe pay attention to detail. That's what I wanted to add. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, who's taking final thoughts on this as we wind down? Just to give the intending exporters a shot in the arm as we wind down on the show today. Dr. Anichebe, Mr. Wallo, Mr. Olarewaju.
Well, for me, I like to come in from the angle of contracts. Before you export, look at your contract, look at it very, very well. Make sure that the contract terms capture safety net for discrepancy.
Because of time, but ladies and gentlemen, thank you so our panelists on the show this evening. It's been an interesting edition of the program. So Salamatu Ahmed, Head of Exports, Office Trade and Exchange, CBN, thank you for your time. Dr. Anthony Anichebe, Sector Lead, Agric and Non-Oil Export, Polaris Bank, thank you. Oladipo Olarewaju, Department Head, Trade Finance, Keystone Bank, as well as Emmanuel Waller, Team Lead, Export and Agriculture at Fidelity Bank. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, it's been great having you on the program. Thank you once again. And to everyone who has joined us from across the country and across the world, never mind. We're back next week with another interesting package, and I promise you it will be worth your while yet again. If you've got questions or if you want to watch this again, head over to our website, smegrowth.ng. That's SMEGROWTH.ng. There's a whole community there waiting for you. You can get to watch our previous episodes. You can chat and all of that. So much for you right there. Well, my name is Kayode Okikolu, Magello Man of the Press, a news anchor at Africa's News Leader Channels Television. And I'd like to thank you so much once again for being a part of the program. And on behalf of the production crew, the engineers, Daniel Kuye, Rowan Noladejo, and Olatunde Abdulateef, the studio manager, Idowu Sebio, and we have Olule Adegboye, Maria Huoma, and of course, the director of Lagos Operations, Bolale Oyemi. We have to say thank you so much, and don't forget to always strive to make profit in whatever you do. Goodbye, and God bless.
It makes sense.
I come here, please, sorry.
Calm down. I'll go pay.
Please, I no fit pay o.
Chai,
Wetin that?
why everything just cost like this?
Na dollar o.
Dollar. How?
Baba, na true now. See your shoe, made in Italy. Your shirt made in Turkey. Even car where you carry come, made in Japan.
How all this one take affect dollar?
You know, say for the price of dollar to come down, get wetin we suppose dey do. We suppose dey export pass wetin we dey import. We suppose dey buy more made in Nigerian products. Make we dey support local businesses. And if we go carry dollar enter Nigeria or any other foreign currency, make we dey use international money transfer agents.
This is my friend. It took get sense. You know what's going to happen? Give up the bill, make it pay. Country people, make we join hand, reduce the pressure on top our naira. This message is from Bankers Committee.
Very every day, no matter your mood.
Whatever gets you going, we've got you.
We place we are. Connection 97.7.